Alright, well, good evening to you all. I'm doing this quick live update because I've been getting quite a few questions regarding the setup for severe weather across southwest lower Michigan tomorrow morning. I posted a photo regarding the severe weather threat, which again is there, but I want to clarify a few things because I think it is a conditional setup. I will say that, and I don't want it to be taken and overdone, I guess you could say. So I'm going to talk about the setup for a little bit with regards to specifically southwest lower Michigan. I will go a little bit into detail regarding Ohio as well, because you can see with the SPC outlook you do have that slight risk across portions of northeastern Ohio and portions of Lake Erie as well. You have that marginal risk that extends all the way through Indiana, Ohio, and then that little spot in southern lower Michigan. Why is lower Michigan in that marginal risk? Well, again, like I said, typically the marginal risk goes into effect as early as 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. For the next day. So this marginal risk, or this risk for severe weather, goes into effect at 7 a.m. Tomorrow morning. Okay, so that's what is being shown on this graphic. Now, that timing is going to be a big deal because those storms are going to be moving in prior to that risk going into effect. So again, the potential exists for storms to fire around 5 a.m. in that marginal risk area. There's likely going to be rain that's ongoing all the way already up north, so that's something to keep in mind. But the storms could draw off some instability and also some more favorable dynamics for severe weather on the southern fringe of that cluster of thunderstorms that will be moving through portions of Michigan. I'm going to get to the comments and chat in just a minute, so feel free to chime in with questions. But Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan are all in that risk area for severe weather. The plan is tomorrow to start in southwest lower Michigan and then chase these storms all the way out towards maybe even the Toledo area. Probably won't get into that slight risk area too much because, again, the terrain gets pretty rough as you go out there. Not really the most favorable terrain to be chasing in. And then Indiana, Ohio, I don't really see a great setup for storms later on in the afternoon. I really think the focus of that setup is going to be further off to the east later on in the afternoon. But again, slight risk for severe thunderstorms. We've already seen a pretty impressive structure on some storms that came through Michigan earlier today. Earlier this morning. They were not severe, but they did pack a punch. They did have some strong winds with them and some heavy rainfall and a very impressive shelf cloud. And if you guys saw the pictures that were going across social media, I think that's going to be a similar scenario tomorrow morning. Could see some pretty impressive structure on these storms, especially with it being right at sunrise. So going to be a pretty unique event to chase across portions of southwest Michigan. Let's get to the models real quick, and we'll get to some questions in just a minute as well. But good evening to you, Kelly. Good evening, Alan. Good to have you here as well. Good evening, George from Constantine, Michigan, and then also Sky. Is Flint going to get anything? We had no rain today in Flint. You know what? I'll get to that question in just a minute. Flint, I think, is going to be dealing with mainly just heavy rainfall, and we'll talk about the heavy rainfall threat also with regards to this setup. Sherry, hello to you. Good to have you here on the stream as well. All right, let's take a look at the weather models real quick, and we'll get right to this potential setup for severe weather. This is the latest model. Again, still showing a similar scenario for that southwest lower Michigan region. Okay, so we're going to start it at 8 p.m. Basically, the current time, 45 minutes past that at this moment. But you can see that cluster of rainfall. This rainfall is going to be heavy. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of rainfall wherever this tends to set up. It looks like it's going to be setting up in the central Michigan, northern Michigan region. Okay, so that's kind of what we're watching. What we're watching, though, with regards to severe weather potential, is the storms that fire over the lakeshore early in the morning at about 5 a.m. You can see this is 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You have this cell that is firing over the lake. Okay, you can pull a sounding from that, and you do have a torque sounding even over the lake with dew points in the 70s, no cap over the lake shore. Your SRH is at 144. Again, minimum threshold for tornado potential with these would be around 150. So we are very close to that minimum threshold with SRH up to the third kilometer of 250. Based on the HRRR model, you've got instability close to 3,000 joules over the lake as well. Again, that lake is really warm right now. Okay, with the warm temperatures over the lake, it can still, and again with a lot of moisture content in the atmosphere and over the lake as well, you can get storms generating pretty well off of the lakeshore, which is again why I think that lakeshore is going to be the primary zone for severe weather development. We'll get to the comments just right here. Nico Good evening to you. Glad you are here as well. And Sky, we need a good round of thunder. We got a good round of thunder in South Haven today. Lots of lightning with that storm that went through. I think we'll get a good round of thunder, especially if you're in southwest lower Michigan tomorrow. Danielle, good evening to you. Is there a chance of severe in Macomb County? I don't want to be woken up because I am sick. There might be a chance. I believe Macomb County, if I remember correctly, is down near the Detroit area. Macomb County, there's a marginal risk, I believe, for you guys tomorrow. It might be a little bit further south than that, but still, I think these storms that are firing over the lake will begin to decrease in severity as they go inland. Again, I really think the storms are really going to draw off more energy on the lakeshore because, again, one thing we're going to be dealing with in the atmosphere across portions of southwest Michigan is a capping inversion, which again is kind of forces storms to not really be able to get surface-based if the cap is in the atmosphere. And again, that's really just a situation where the atmosphere above is a little bit warmer than the atmosphere below, and that actually puts a cap over. For Scottville, if you can give me kind of a general area where Scottville is, that'd be more appreciated. Roberta, glad you're here also with us as well. Trisha, hello from Grand Rapids. Again, Grand Rapids is going to see some heavy rain, so get prepared for that. But again, this is 7 a.m. This is right around the sunrise time, okay? And you can see that storm that has this little cone right here. Someone asked a question in the comments regarding this little cone here. This is is a representation of updraft velocity. What is updraft velocity? Well, that just represents the kind of the spin that is existing inside a storm or a storm's updraft, okay? So if that updraft gets strong, for example, greater than 75 meters squared per second, you have the models tend to show that on the cells that will potentially form, okay? So that's what we're looking at there. It's just indicating a strong mesocyclone. And again, storms with stronger mesocyclones have the better potential to produce a little spin-up tornado or two. I don't really see the potential for a stronger tornado tomorrow. I really think it could just be a little spin-up or two across portions of southwest Michigan, and closer to the lakeshore as well is something I believe will be the issue. My target area is South Haven, and then I'll kind of orientate from there, maybe even getting down towards Lake Michigan Beach. And these storms will continue to move south and east as well. You can see that those cells kind of evolve over the lake, and then they'll reach the shore closer to 7:30, 8 o'clock. Again, give or take an hour or so within that time frame. Could change. It's very likely that it will change. So let's freeze frame it on hour 12 and get a look at the environment that's going to be in place across portions of this region. So again, this is showing surface-based CAPE values. Again, you see that the instability is stronger over the lake. Okay, you've got a lot better instability out there, which there's your sounding for potential for tornadoes. Sam, glad you're here from my Bible class. Good to have you here. Again, talking about tornado potential in southwest Michigan. Thank you all for tuning in that are here. Trisha, we need some rain this morning. Yeah, you guys we got quite a bit of rain across southern Michigan this morning as those storms started to move and weaken. And I think that's going to be the case with these as well. As they moved eastward, it's likely that they will have a better chance of weakening. You can see that there's some instability still across portions of southwestern Michigan. Your hodographs have that curvature and you've got a little bit more low level. You got I guess you could say a stronger low-level jet with this as well. A little bit of directional shear at the surface. As it goes up, you see the winds tend to increase, so it's really directional shear at the surface. It's not really, the air is not really moving too much at the surface either. Your SRH on this sounding is close to 200, which again is pretty impressive with a setup for the morning. So let's fast forward it a little bit and go to around 9 a.m. See that instability kind of tends to get a better foothold across portions of southwestern Michigan later on in the day. So there is potential that these storms could still draw off that instability, especially closer to Van Buren and Kalamazoo counties. So I really think the bigger threat for severe weather is going to be focused south of I-94. So again, I mentioned Battle Creek. There is potential for severe weather in Battle Creek, but if you get severe weather out there, it's likely going to be more along the lines of damaging winds. I think that's going to be the case for pretty much all of this region, but there is that chance that there could be a brief spin-up tornado with these storms as well. So that's something that we're watching with this setup. So the biggest concern for most areas is flooding tomorrow. Yes, let's actually get right to that and take a look at the total forecasted rain accumulation. I think I'm going to have to go to a different graphic for that. So we're going to have to spread out to a regional view. And we'll talk about Ohio real quick as well. Okay, so there's your instability. Again, you have instability also present across portions of northern Indiana with this. Let's take a look at the radar outside this. You can see the focus of storm development is going to be just to the south of that cluster of heavy rainfall. So you'll take a look at your storm relative velocity with these storms as they move through. Again, you've got kind of a pocket of SRH that's going to be on the southern fringe of this, and those storms will feed off that, and that will cause those storms to spin. Kelly's lawn is soaked. Got a lot of rain this morning in Troy. Yes, you guys sure did get quite a bit of rain out there as well. So, again, let's see. We are... Alright, I was going to show you guys the precipitation real quick, so let's do that. Total qualitative precipitation, the amount of precipitation totals. This is as of, I would say, noon. In fact, you can see that there's not too much being shown for Indiana or Ohio. That's going to be shown for later in the afternoon. But you can see the focus of heavy rainfall is going to be areas just to the north of I-94 to all the way up towards the Traverse City region. You see a good amount of potential rain accumulations, greater than an inch, across much of central and lower Michigan. Look at this band of heavy rain that could possibly occur across portions of lower Michigan, starting in Allegan County. Then this is just to the north of the places that could see severe potential. So I did say as early as 5 a.m. I really think it's going to be a little bit later than that. I think it's going to be closer to sunrise, so 6:45, 7 a.m. I'm planning on targeting South Haven and getting these storms as they come in during that time frame. So again, we're looking at these models. These models are very likely to change, so keep that in mind. I am thinking there's going to be at least some severe weather across southwest lower Michigan tomorrow morning. The question is how severe and when exactly is still something that's kind of the question here. But again, total accumulations are going to be kind of a concern for flooding, especially across just south or over the Grand Rapids region. That's kind of all I wanted to show you with regards to Michigan. I'll take a quick look at Ohio and then open it up to comments and questions a little bit more. But let's go back to reflectivity. I do like where it shows the updraft velocity as well. You can see that these storms are going to continue through about 1 p.m. across portions of eastern Michigan into the Toledo area. I'm going to go back to a graphic that helps us get a better... Ooh, I think the 0Z is coming in. Let's see how well it's loaded. Oh, it's just loading in. 0Z is going to be interesting, I will say that. But if you're north of I-94, it is most definitely going to be a washout tomorrow. I will say that, Joey. You're going to get a lot of rainfall tomorrow, pretty much throughout the day. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so interesting thing about today is Minnesota has been dealing with some tornadoes out there. They have had kind of a more robust scenario. Not similar to ours, I'd say, especially since ours is going to be in the morning. It's mainly going to be driven by some instability over the lake. But they have had some pretty decent setup for severe weather out there across southeast Minnesota. Potential for even a strong tornado out there as well. Haven't really seen any of the reports yet, but okay. So the expectation still showing similar to this is a previous run, but it goes a little bit further, which is why we're using it. Northwest Ohio is going to also be wanting to watch for these storms. Areas along the Lake Erie shoreline will want to watch for these storms, and then these storms will continue east-southeast. There could be some additional convective development across northwest Ohio during the evening, and then it really tends to fizzle out as nightfall approaches. And then we're kind of done with thunderstorms for a little bit, and it's going to be a cooler, drier air mass, which will be much more comfortable. We've been dealing with heat and humidity for quite a while. It's about time we had a break. So, again, that's kind of the overall analysis of this setup as of right now. Latest models have been uptrending the scenario for thunderstorms across southwest lower Michigan, which it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. So we'll be on it. We'll be chasing it early tomorrow morning at about 5 a.m. So let's open up to questions now. If you have any, feel free to chime in. Again, I'm just taking a look at the models briefly here. I believe Great Lakes Storm Chaser Network will be doing an update as well with regards to setup. Again, setup is conditional. As I talked about earlier, there's going to be a capping inversion in the atmosphere. Capping inversion, the thing that these storms are going to have to do is it's going to have to overwhelm this cap. But SRH is still going to be pretty high on the southern fringe of this storm. Isaac, I'll see you out. Yeah, I'll see you out there. are you coming to the lake? That's where I'm going to be. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it all the way out to Ohio, but we'll see what happens. Again, it's going to be an interesting setup in that regard. But yeah, target area is the lakeshore, and then I will try to stay along areas just within the lakeshore too, in case we happen to see maybe a water spout that comes on shore or something along those lines. It'll be something worth watching as these storms make their approach. Any other questions? Feel free to chime in. In fact, let's take a look at those storms that are out in. Yeah, there's some pretty decent soundings on this setup, I will say. And I'm wondering how it's going to evolve overnight. I'm going to have to check the latest model runs first thing in the morning. But again, regardless, probably still going to go out there. I think the structure on these storms is going to be amazing to look at. I'm a fan of structure, personally. But I'll probably follow the same chase path as I did yesterday. Alright, so Isaac's heading to Northwest Ohio. Make sure to check out Storm Chaser Isaac Krause's content on his YouTube channel. Still some good soundings on these storms as they head east. I'm interested in the tornado potential on this little region. I will say that. Early in the morning. Other questions? Thoughts on tonight and overnight? So yeah, tonight and overnight, again, looking pretty quiet until we get to about 2 a.m. You can see northern Michigan starts to see the rain, and then as the hours go by, that threat continues to shift southward, and then you see that line really start to evolve with some potential supercells by the time we get to the morning hours. And then, by the time we get to about, I'd say 3 p.m., storms have moved into Ohio. Might be some additional convective development on the backside. I don't think so, though. Let's compare this to the NAM, though. I will compare this to the NAM because the NAM is a little bit different with regards to this setup. So, again, similar setup to southeast Minnesota. It plays it a lot slower and weaker in the morning. So if you look at the forecast for a weaker play earlier in the morning, that's what the NAM is depicting. Again, it does show that strong SRH, but it doesn't really show a good setup. It looks to be more elevated. And then those storms will evolve later on in the day across portions of northwest Ohio, which potentially, if that is the case, I will chase, because that setup looks to be rather interesting as it evolves. Again, if there's something happening in Van Wert, I'll be in Van Wert. Sam, I think I am very ready to teach math, and I'm looking forward to, yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun year, I think. Starting to rain in Millington. Yeah, there might be a few little pop-up showers and thunderstorms overnight tonight. In fact, we'll take a live look at radar, too, in just a minute. Yeah, let's pull up our live radar real quick. I sure hope. Let's see if it'll pop up. Oh, yes it will. Okay. Alan, you might see me out there. We'll see what happens. I may just chase this all the way to eastern Michigan. Alright, let's take a look at radar real quick. Let it generate. Again, my computer runs kind of slow in these situations, but we'll see what we can do. It may actually pull up the weather models. In fact, let's close out this window. Let's see if that speeds things up. Yeah, it's better. Okay, so here's the actual radar image from at present time. Get a look at, again, the one issue with the today, or the tomorrow, is that northern Indiana is going to be, the radar site's going to be down until midday. So that's going to be kind of a concern. You do notice out here, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois does have a tornado warning. We'll take a quick look at that real quick. Okay, you can see that the storm does not really look too intimidating and the reflectivity, but if you go to the velocity graphic, You can see that spin that's kind of present within this storm. So again, weather forecast office out there does see potential for a tornado in that. Something we'll be dealing with a little bit later. Storms have been going on through Chicago and portions of northern Indiana. Again, the models did show that happening, not severe in any way. Alright, let's take a look at the models from this point of view. Alright, so again, we are using the 23Z model, and we are fast forwarding to the time these storms arrive in our vicinity. Get a better view of what's going to happen. And again, this will likely shift. There's your storms as they fire around 7 a.m. You can see that it kind of extends south of Muskegon to south of Grand Rapids, down towards South Haven. I think the storms up here will mainly be in the form of heavy rain. The storms that can draw off on the instability, that's going to be that's going to be in portions of Lake Michigan. That is what I think will be more of a concern in terms of severe weather. Those southern fringe storms. Again, because they can feed off instability, they'll have inflow potentially with these. South Haven is likely going to be my target. This is forecasted for 8 a.m. And then it forms a line later on in the afternoon that extends across portions of Kalamazoo County, Allegan County. Again, mainly heavy rain as you go further north, but further south you do have that severe potential. And then it kind of forms a convective line, starts to form over portions of St. Joe County as well. That includes places such as eastern St. Joe County. You might have some convective initiation back in western St. Joe. It might even convect earlier back here. So again, environment's there, depicted by the models. Will it manifest itself, is the question, especially with the capping inversion we'll have in the air. Alright, one last look at questions. Late, but should Muskegon be good? Just some heavy rain and thunder? I think, yeah, mainly just heavy rain and thunder for Muskegon. I believe that will be the case. Alright, with that, I think I'm going to end my live. Thank you all for watching. It has been a pleasure answering some questions, getting with you guys in regards to that. Make sure to check out our live stream tomorrow at about, wow, look at my camera. Let's blow that up a little bit. Whee! There we go. Alright, well, make sure to check out the live feed tomorrow morning at around 5 a.m. daybreak. We'll be checking out some storms. Probably will be around sunrise. And it'll be some pretty beautiful structure out there. So I'm looking forward to that. And make sure to check out Michigan Storm Chasers. They'll be live as well. I will probably be meeting up with a couple of the storm chasers across the Lake Shore. So keep that. So looking forward to that, meeting up with them. And hopefully nothing too intense happens tomorrow. But we'll see some pretty cool stuff. Never stop chasing. God bless you all. Oop.